Hi there. So, one of the things that I have come to learn about me and about really everybody is that we are not just one solid expression of a self. The way our personalities develop over time, starting when we are infants, is that we develop these different aspects of ourselves. And for those of us who have a whole lot of trauma, sometimes that means develop those parts of ourselves, those aspects of ourselves develop into full-on personality states that pop out without our awareness. But for most of us, we just have parts inside of us that help us to sort of organize and manage all the different experiences that we have. We might have a part of us that, without our awareness, maybe is racist, and the majority of our parts are not at all, and we'll shock ourselves because all of a sudden we'll have a thought that is not in cohesion with the rest of us. And it's really confusing if you don't understand that we all have parts. And if we can start to take ownership of our parts, then we can start to deal with those different parts of ourselves in a new way that can actually help us function so much better. Because sometimes we'll have really judgmental parts of ourselves that just beat the heck out of ourselves, while the rest of ourselves might feel loving and confident and open. This other part of us is really closed down and really shut off and really self-condemning. And if we don't help ourselves work with that part of ourselves that we may be, rejecting, we may reject that part of us because we don't like it. So we don't want to look at it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to deal with that part of ourselves. But in doing that, we actually give them power, because then they hide in the shadows and take over and do things without our conscious awareness. I know that may sound a little bit crazy, but I promise you, if you fully get to understanding how you can begin to work with the parts of yourself, then things start to shift in your life. So I'm Melody Brooke. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm a mom. I'm a grandmom. I'm an actor. I'm a screenwriter. I'm a filmmaker. And of course, I'm a therapist and a marriage and family therapist. And all day long, I have the opportunity to help people deal with their internal family. I'm not trained in internal family systems, but I've done a lot of reading and I've done a little bit of training in it. I'm not certified, but I have enough awareness of the truth of what internal family systems teaches and other models that I've worked with that actually work with my model, my understanding of the way that our brain works and the way we develop these parts of ourselves that are either stuck in this victim place or stuck in a rescuing mode or stuck in a self-protective mode. And all of these different parts of ourselves can come into conflict with each other and cause us a great deal of stress if we're not conscious and able to work with them. And I think that we sometimes we can do that on our own, but a lot of times it's really, really helpful to have a guide, to have a therapist who understands that we have these different aspects of ourselves that may be in competition with each other, may be in conflict with each other, may be hiding in the background and kind of really running the show and making us feel things, and we're not even aware that we're feeling, and we say things and we're surprised and shocked at the things that we say because some part of us has those feelings, has those awarenesses. And the more we can become a whole system, I don't want to say integrated, because all those parts of us, we need all those different parts. We can't, the human mind is so complicated. I don't think it's possible for us to unite it as to one whole, but we can have an overarching sense of self that contains all of that. And that sort of is the goal, is to be able to have all those parts of us working together in coordination with each other and helping each other and supporting each other, so that we can actually get to a place where we are consistent in the way that we think and feel about things, instead of surprising ourselves or coming up with things that we don't expect that we might feel about things. So it's really about getting to know yourself, because all of these different parts are part of the whole of you. And when you can start to get to know those parts of yourself, then you can be more open and available, say to children, because we all have child parts of ourselves. And I can remember as a young person in high school, and then even in my early 20s, feeling really anxious around children because I had disowned my own inner children. My own inner children were so shut off because of the memories of trauma that they held that I couldn't let myself connect. And so not connecting with my own inner child prevented me from being able to really connect with children. And I felt this block, this shutdown around children that now I understand. But at the time, it was confusing to me because consciously I loved kids and I babysat kids and took care of kids and I had my own kids, and yet I couldn't allow myself to fully connect because I couldn't connect inside. So the work that we have as human beings is to be more available to ourselves, which allows us to be more available to others. And this is the work that I do every day, that I'm honored to have the opportunity to help people embrace and recognize not only in themselves, but in their partners. Because the more you're aware of your own different parts, the more softness you can have towards your significant other's part, or towards your parents' part, or towards your children's parts. Because sometimes they will shock you and they will say and do things that seem completely out of character, and you don't know that part. So you're like, I don't know who this is right now that I'm talking to. This isn't the person that I expected to be talking to. And if we can have awareness of these parts that inhabit the whole of the self, then we can perhaps be more open to understanding and having empathy for, and instead of getting reactive to these parts of our partners, our children, our parents, or our friends that show up unexpectedly. And once we do that, then we can open our hearts to being able to accept more of who they are and not take it so personally, right? Because what we tend to do, if somebody shows up with a part of them that we don't like or didn't expect, we can react very badly, defensively, reactively, as though somehow we needed to do something about the way they are. So somehow it was our job to fix it, to get them back to being who they were. But the truth is, of course, what they need is empathy. They need us to remain non-defensive and be open to what it is that's underneath it. And I'm not here to say that's easy, because when somebody's yelling at you, or somebody's criticizing you, or somebody's really upset about something they think that you did that caused that feeling, it can be really, really difficult to respond with a sense of compassion and warmth and understanding when somebody's in that state. Is to allow yourself to take a moment to settle when you notice a reaction in yourself or in someone else. Take a few minutes if you need to. Take a time out if you need to. Settle yourself down, and then be open and curious about what was activated in you, what parts were activated in you, and what parts were activated in this other person, so that you can begin to explore and connect on a deeper level. And I'm not going to pretend that's easy. It isn't. I coach people on doing this every day, and sometimes it takes weeks, months, years to get couples to be able to provide this and fully understand it for themselves. But I do believe that the cleanest path to that is to get to know yourself and the different parts of yourself. Because once you understand your own parts, once you understand that you have parts of you that you're not necessarily consciously aware of and that you need to get in communication and connection with, then it makes it easier for you to understand that your partner, your parent, your child might also have these things happening inside of them that they don't understand, that they're not in connection with, it, that they don't have a good relationship with. So if that sounds kind of all crazy to you, I get it. But ask me questions, and I'd love to answer them. And I'd love to talk to you about what it takes to help yourself to get more connected to yourself, so that you can be a better parent, a better partner, a better friend to yourself as well as to other people. So again, I'm Melody Brooke, and I would love to hear your thoughts about this. I know it might sound a little bit crazy. It might sound like I'm talking about a crazy person, but the truth is those different parts, those different aspects of ourselves are there, are present in everyone at every moment. I have this presenter side of myself that you guys get to see, right? And I have other parts of myself that my children see and that my friends see. And yet, as much as possible, I want to be as authentic as possible so that I can have access to all these different parts of me when I am in presence with you or with anyone else in my life. And the way we do that is to go inside and to listen and pay attention and start to build a relationship with all these different aspects of ourselves. If you have thoughts about that, please leave them in the comments. You can send me a message at info@melodybrooke.com and I'll answer. You can check me out on melodybrooke.com, or you can find my book, Oh Wow, This Changes Everything, on Amazon, which kind of talks on a really rudimentary level about these different parts of ourselves that show up in our relationships and why, and how the brain does that. So I will see you next week at the same time. And I am back to 4 o'clock. Everything worked out so I could be here at 4 o'clock now. And I will see you at 4 o'clock next Tuesday. And please, if you have any questions or thoughts or anything that you want me to talk about in the future, please post it below. And I